Hey guys, I'm going to do a combo video about one on SMCI, an extremely rare large cap play. I did not trade this yesterday. Really wasn't until after yesterday and after to the age push that I thought this trade was really nice. Full disclosure, I did 50 shares. It's not my usual play, so this was kind of just a very small risk, small size type play. Um, for practice, more or less for practice, because a lot of times, I mentioned, so in the pre-market, when this was gapping up, said on my Discord that uh, when large caps start getting very, very volatile, right, and the dailies, this happens with very few like mid large cap stocks, right? So the classic example, which was also a time when the market was like this, kind of the market's pumping, crazy range on everything, bull flags working, was Tesla. Obviously, 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, even Tesla traded just like this. And on its days where it was, getting the most extended, you would get price action that was very reminiscent of low float stocks. You start to get low float price action, which actually just goes to show that low float price action is simply volatility price action, right? It's just that low floats are inherently volatile, and most of the time, most of these mid large cap stocks are not that volatile, right? But if you look at like Nvidia's big gap up day and stuff like that, you start to get the same type of patterns. Then you start seeing low floats. So right from the pre-market, I was like, SMCI is going to start trading like Tesla. It's going to start getting really volatile. It's going to trade just like a low float stock trades like. So you start to get low flow patterns, which is very interesting because most people I don't think know about low flow patterns, right? Most people do not trade low floats. So when a larger cap stock does low floaty stuff, people just are super surprised. You can go on Twitter and you find, the majority of the trading community does not trade low float stocks. It's got a very niche community, niche community. Is how you say that word. But yeah, so I was gonna wait the market up because market open is the best time for trading large caps. It's really when you get, um, it really decides what trend it's gonna do. You know, what type of bid is gonna hold. What type of What's nice about large caps is I actually don't mind trading trend breaks. So this was just me anticipating. You could see on the book that there is a 1065 bidder holding the stock up, right? And what's nice about low floats is you don't have to really guess. Like in low floats, I'm sorry, in large caps. In low floats, you have to guess the top a lot. You have to have like insane reads because like stocks move like this. You know what I mean? Or I should say stocks move like this, like this. You know what I mean? It's how low floats move. Where large caps, if they give a nice pattern like this and they break their trend, a lot of times, in the right context, in the right situation, can hold their trend. So I wasn't really afraid of shorting the trend break here. And I've covered absolutely nothing because if we look at the daily, just go look at daily. Let's look at the daily on this stock. Stock is insane. So yeah, I mean it's fading. Um, and it's just touching the 1m20ema. It's just touching it, right? Can I move this over a bit? Is just beginning to touch it. If anything, I should maybe cover some here for maybe a 9 EMA bounce. But even then, like this is a crazy chart. Just look at it. This is a 1 year chart on like a large cap stock. It's up, um, 1,400%. It's a little extended, and not only that, look how like little consolidation there is from 350 to 1070. Right? There's like, I mean, don't get me wrong. This will probably have some crazy bounces. Um, if they come back and attack this, I'm going to be super surprised. But hey, anything could happen. But I mean, there's so many bearish factors working for this that it kind of doesn't make sense not to swing it, and probably even swing it multiple weeks. So since it's small size, it could be fun. It could be fun to swing. It's not my usual trade, but yeah, it's a nice chart. But yeah, we'll look really quick just at the book. Oh, we'll look at the chart really fast. Here's the 1 minute. So we wait for market open, and they did a little trick that you see in low floats, right? Where they, a lot of times they say like when a stock pops at 925 in a low float land. Like it gives an aggressive pop. Like Holo on day two. Speaking of Holo, but Holo on day two, it gave a 928 pop and then dump. Right, that's a very low float trick. This did the opposite, where it did a 925 dump, and I was like, oh, it'd be great if this ripped back towards highs. And I actually thought this might do like a high day clear out or something like that. So I was really hoping this would push. Didn't want to chase the pre-market dump, right? But we got the rip. I'm like, cool, man. Maybe they're just gonna swipe highs. Kind of like my first idea was swipe high day, pull back, and then do some type of like higher low trap like this, and and pull. Would have been really nice. But I'm watching it, and it starts to struggle right here. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and I'm just watching it. I'm just watching. I'll go to the book. I'm just watching it, and then the book starts to fill out, right? It starts to get really heavy up here. It starts to get some bids down here. So now I'm seeing, um, obviously I see that again. You got to think like low floats on these higher lows, right? It's building higher lows, right? And I love that this was the push that convinced me to short the trend break, where they started. We see this in low floats. They start stacking the ask. You see a big up only push. You see all these green candles, big up only push comes straight back down, and then I see this bidder, and I'm like, if this bidder starts to break, I'm going to short into the bid. I'm going to short into 1065 breaking, probably just risk these highs. And then, in large floats, I'm just betting that, if you look at the chart, that's a nice little potential long trappy push. That looks like it's going to break high day, and then they pull it, right? Then they pull it. And it broke the trend, and then I said immediately to my room, I'm like, yeah, large caps a lot of times on these patterns, they just have the trend is the trend. And if this is a trend break and this is like a long trap at the top, with this like low flow type pattern, it's gonna go straight down. That's the beauty. You don't have to, even though I guess low floats this week, everything was down. I missed so many fades this week in low floats because of how down only everything is. Everything's pushing 500% and then going down only 60% with no bounce, which does not, most of the time, does not support my style of trading. So, funny enough, this is my biggest short this week, just because of the range and what it ended up doing and how it ended up working out. But, so there's some irony there. So, anyway, um, I did long. I'll show you quick. I did long. Let's see. I took a small long. I posted this in my Discord. This is what the second part of the video is going to be about. I longed CPOP here to here because I thought it would give a long trap and a pull. And then what happened was a bunch of bids came in and shoved it into the mid eights. And I didn't short it, but I sold my long. This is actually like a 30% long. That happened in about a minute and a half. But I missed it. Anyway, I took 2 trades today. By the way, I tend to not take, even in markets like these, I don't take a lot of positions uh, compared to a lot of other people. But I do want to talk about, kind of like this, especially in a strong market, one of the most common I would say the most common momentum pattern at the top of a stock is the quick 1 minute 20 pullback. Sometimes it happens on a 1 minute 9. Sometimes it can even happen on a 1 minute 50, depending on where the MAs kind of lie. But overall, the 1 minute 20, which is the 1 minute chart, 20 exponential moving average, right, is the most common. So, especially in a strong market with a lot of volume, a lot of momentum, is you get a big crazy move. In this type of market, that big crazy move could be 300-400%. And then usually it just tops out almost right away and you get an instant pullback. It should be very, very aggressive, right? The more aggressive, even this is part of the counterintuitiveness of low floats. The more aggressive the pullback, the better. And we see this on Holo today. Somebody in my room was like, how do you approach shorting something like this? And I said, I don't approach shorting something like this. If anything, I should have been long in it. But here's an example. So you got your market open push, and then you got this kind of, market open consolidation, right? Is it weak? Is it strong, right? You could see kind of the short candles here. I used to short these kind of indiscriminately, but then I realized especially in these like spready multi-day runner or manipulated plays, they don't tend to work very well. And I stopped, on day one, low float gappers, I might, I'm much more willing to trade something like this. But holo, especially because I knew the after hours high day was at $51. That's a big level to squeeze, and man, they squeezed those people. Anyway, so I was pretty scared of that too. And I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to touch this. But here we see it again. We see, here's a squeeze from 46 to 69, and it down halts. I always say, in down halts, this market is, unless it's like an A plus liquidity pattern. I always recommend not chasing down halts, period. Which is why on something like GXAI today, I'm not shorting these bounces down here. I would have loved it if it rotated again. Like, we're not getting that though. We're not getting any. You see these lower highs? We're not getting any of these attacked. It's so weak. Stocks today, this week, just lower high into 50, 60, 70% fades. And I didn't adjust at all, and it's probably my biggest mistake. I even made a joke about it in my Discord this morning. I was like, oh, what's going to happen is what happened was CPOP was pulling back. And right here I said, CPOP is probably going to pull back 30%, do zero bounce, and then pull back another 30%. I totally misread this push. Look at this $7 clear out right here. Up haul into the clear out into the pull. Some people in my room read this. I was just a bit afraid because the stock was moving. It would be like at 7.4, then it would be at 6.5, like in like 10, in like literally like maybe 3-4 seconds. I was kind of afraid to go in, where I should have just shorted instantly into the 7 break, but I just did not react in time. Wasn't ready for it. Thought it would hang out a little bit and missed the trade. And this was a market to just short the first lower high that kind of started the rollover. Every single one of these faded huge, so that was my big mistake. But anyway, this video is about the 1 minute 20, and we get a quick pullback, 1 minute 20. And on the book is always the same. The most ideal book, if you want to pair this, so what you kind of need is a strong market making big moves, right? Which is what we're in, right? The other thing you need is volume, right? You want stocks with big, consistent, increasing volume. That's always good. And you want a quick pullback, hopefully with no like super ideal long trappy pattern. Ideally, it just goes straight up, gives a lower high, and then just goes straight up, straight down, or goes straight up, maybe gives a little lower high, and then just pulls. The book is always the same. It finds some bids. This is the most ideal situation. It finds some bids, gives a little push. A lot of times, these first pushes do not have a lot of bid support. They come back down. It catches the same or near the same bids it caught over here, and ideally, new bids start to show up. And not only new bids, like you could see it getting a lot thicker, and follow-up bids. So new bids and follow-up bids, and a relatively empty book to the upside. And yeah, I literally longed it. This was a bit of a chase, but I longed it here on its like 5.5 break. And then I sold it over here, and then look, they just came with a huge bid and shoved this another 40% from my entry. I missed out. I made 30%, could have made like 70. And I should just follow the bids. I always talked about my videos. I'm like, yeah, as long as the bids are there, just don't sell. But I thought the chart, I was looking at the chart and not looking at the book. And I missed out on a nice 70% in 10-minute in 10-minute stock. But this is nice. It's Mikey Underdog calls this his W pattern, right? It's like touch the bids, pop with no bid, come back to the bids. Ideally, new bids, thicker bids, follow-up bids, empty ask. Those are the best ones in a good market. In a good market where these trades are working. So you got to remember, this market's not gonna last forever. It never does. Where it's gonna be weeks in the future where stuff is not gapping 500%. There's going to be weeks in the future where, you know, a stock isn't just going to fade 70% with no bounce. You know what I mean? That being said, if the market is telling you, hey, these backside plays aren't bouncing, um, and it's telling you that multiple days in a row, and you see that over and over again, you know, you should probably listen to the market. You know, I even made a joke about it in the pre-market, and I still didn't change any of my behavior. Um, so I made a 30% long, and then I shorted SMCI, and those are the only trades I took. You know, I was actually thinking about longing this, but I actually thought there's no way that downhalt squeeze is going to work twice in a row, and it did. Literally could have longed it. Probably the best long in this structure. This pullback. This was nice right here. Got your big initial like $5 squeeze. This is CPOP at 10 o'clock in the morning. A pullback, a bounce with no bids, comes back and catches bids, right? Starts to rotate into an empty book. This was actually a nice long, but you would have had the full sell and up halt. And anyway, yeah, 1 minute 20. I could find a million examples of the 1 minute 20 working. See if I could just find BMR from like, I don't know. I don't even know if BMR did this, but let's look. Here we go. Right here. Oops. This looks just like Holo today. Looks just like it. Midday morning consolidation. Massive squeeze, right? It goes from 7 to 17. And by the way, this opened at 2. So now look, this went from $2 yesterday to 17. What does it do? Quick dump. 1 minute 20. Fucking rip, dude. Rip. 100% from entry. Not even, wow. 180% from entry, because your entry would be near the 1 minute 200 down here. Even though I didn't hit this, granted I did not hit this one, so it's not like I could just pretend I made 180%. But same concept. You know, strong, crazy strong market, big moves, right? Huge volume. Volume's always important, the most important, if anything. Volume and market conditions determine like 90% of patterns. And then the rest is just understanding the manip patterns, understanding why they're strong, and maybe using tools like Bookmap to make a good read. But yeah, quick, strong market, insane move that everybody thinks, surely this is extended, surely backside is in, and then, you know, these gigantic knife candles that convince everyone and their mom the stock is in backside, and then you rip them, So anyway, that's about it. 1 minute 20 stuff and a crazy SMCI short. You guys have a good weekend. Information down below about the Discord, and see you next week.